the fittest. But only one death during the dry season is actually a remarkable feat. Across Africa, more than half of all lion cubs die before the age of 2. The Vumbi are defying the odds, but their success is a double-edged sword. The more hungry cubs that survive, the more pressure on the females to keep them all fed. Back at camp, Nathan finally has the robot working. Now it's time to see how the lions will respond to it.
The first few times we used the robot with the lions, it was a little dicey. Once it became the center of their attention, that was really nerve-wracking because we didn't know if they would destroy it. And also, once they're playing with it, obviously you're not filming their behavior or what they're doing. All of a sudden you're filming them playing with you, and that's not what we wanted.
And she's coming towards you, get ready for her.
They would start to gather around it and paw at it. And so there were these like crazy moments where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if they were going to dismember the thing.
Ooh, bingo.
Fortunately, the only casualty is a microphone cover.
What? I gotta watch lions.
And a dirty lens.
Right in the sweet spot.
Since Nick and Nathan arrived in the Serengeti, they have only seen the females of the Vumbi pride and the cubs. But there are male lions in this part of the park too. The males bring complexity to the pride dynamic, and the photographers are getting impatient for their arrival.
As a wildlife photographer, you can't direct the animals. You can't just say, if it'd be all right if you'd bring the males out tomorrow, that'd be swell. So, I mean, it's tough. You know, we're just basically waiting for the males to arrive, and we have no idea when that might happen.
For weeks, Nick and Nathan stay with the females. But then one day, everything changes.
When we first pulled up there and we saw that there was a male with Vumbi, we were super excited. It was early in the afternoon, and we knew immediately we were going to have to ride this one out and stay as long as possible, because anytime when there's a male around the females, something could happen.
That's good, that's good. I thought I might be on to a stranger male because they were acting so cautious.
If this male has no affiliation with the pride, he'll try to kill the cubs, to eliminate the offspring of rival males, and to bring their mothers back into heat. But the females will fight the males off if they can.
And a lot of times the females will die trying to protect their cubs. So there would be some epic battle about to happen. I mean, we had no doubt that those 5 female lions were a force to be reckoned with. They were, I always called them a biker gang. I mean, they were tough.
Luckily, this turns out to be Seaboy, the massive male who fathered several of the Vumbi cubs. But that still doesn't mean he's in for a warm welcome.
The first time that we saw Seaboy with the females, it was tense. It was this uneasy truce that seemed to be established out there where they were tolerating him, but he wasn't allowed very close. And so he was there, but on the periphery. It seemed like they were unsure what to do with him and not trusting him, exactly.
As the day wears on, the females seem to grow more comfortable with Seaboy. And even the cubs start approaching him. With the arrival of Seaboy, the Vumbi have some much-needed protection from other male lions. The females are still vigilant, making sure he doesn't get too rough with the cubs. But they'll put up with his temper, because he's a powerful male with a track record of survival.
August 2009.
Okay, 17th of August 2009.
The researchers told us that Seaboy had actually been kicked out of his previous territory by this marauding group of powerful males that go by the name the Killers. One of the researchers named Ingela was out there and had seen Seaboy being torn apart by the Killers and managed to make some incredible photographs of that fight.
When I sort of back away from that to know, oh Christ, this is in the middle of a great battle here, 3 against 1. Then they come for him. And I'm there, you know, with my lens, I can't adjust it too much, so I'm having it on the widest that I can.
Oh, they're right next to your car.
They're right, yeah, it's like between here and my car here.
Oh my God.
Must have been so loud.
I was sure they were killing him.
It was 3 against 1, but incredibly, Seaboy survived the attack, escaped to a new territory, and took over the Vumbi pride.
He had, I mean, what a story. You know, he was complete badass. I mean, this male was so tough that he took on 3 other males. So, you know, he was a character for us immediately.
Seaboy brings a level of security that few other males could supply. But on his own, even he will have difficulty preventing a takeover by rival males. The most likely suspects? Seaboy's old enemies. The Killers are back on the prowl. And now, there are 4 of them to be reckoned with.
In order to survive in such a place, you need teamwork, and the females gather together and they form a pride, and they look after each other, they have each other's backs, and they defend their territory together as a unit. The males have a similar thing where they form coalitions to compete with other males.
The Killers are just such a coalition. But Nick and Nathan have only seen Seaboy alone, or with the pride.
We were out in the afternoon, and we found Seaboy walking towards one of these tall rock outcroppings. Seaboy had been trying to mate with this female, and it wasn't going well. Seaboy started roaring and immediately started walking in the same direction as he'd been roaring. And so, of course, we followed him. Eventually we saw in the direction he was walking towards another lion coming towards him.
From afar, it's unclear if this is a rogue male, or maybe even one of the killers. But ultimately, it's neither. Turns out, Seaboy has a coalition partner too. The researchers have named him Hildur.
There's this incredible moment where they do this like nuzzle thing, you know, this little dance. To me, it's just like an amazing example of a coalition and these two males sort of affirming their bond together.
The male lions have to do this. In fact, one male lion is a goner. A coalition of two is not really very strong unless you've got a Seaboy.
Like Seaboy, Hildur fathered several Vumbi cubs and will fight for their survival. But his arrival puts added pressure on the females of the pride.
There are places where male lions absolutely do participate in killing food. But what I saw was the opposite of that. I saw scavengers that get fed because they provide protection, kind of like a mafia situation.
There's an obvious pecking order. The males can control whatever the pride kills, so the females would kill something, male would take it and eat really until he was full. There really is very little to go around, and with a group that big, with a pride that large, one small gazelle or whatever it is they killed, there's not enough to go around, even for the cubs. The cubs were fighting over just the right to lick the blood off the grass because that's all that was left.
I didn't think you would actually fight him on the butt, but he did.
It's a tough deal. I think there's no doubt it's difficult for the females to watch the males eat that much, you know, fill themselves up and then leave whatever is left for the cubs.
It's the price the pride must pay for protection. They now have two strong, loyal males to fend off attacks. But with them come two very large stomachs that demand to be fed.
When we went into this project, everybody said, ah, man, lions, all they do is lay around and sleep. And it's true, they sleep an awful lot. But there's like a whole another part about being a lion that happens once the sun goes down. They see far better than the prey at night. So if it's perfectly dark, a lion can walk in amongst the prey and the prey will hardly know they're there. And so we had to find some way to cover that.
With 5 females, 8 fast-growing cubs, and 2 males, the pride needs a lot of fresh meat. Every kill can mean the difference between life and death. So it's crucial not to disturb the lions or take away their advantage.
For the lions to have the most success, there could be no light. Even moonlight would mess them up. And so for us, that became massively difficult. Our cameras were unable to see when there was no moon. So we had to project this invisible light that only the cameras could see.
Working at night was about as difficult a set of circumstances you can create for yourself. But I thought it was just so important to use invisible light.
It sounds simple, great. Project some infrared light, the lions can't see it, perfect. The reality is it was a real pain. I mean, for me, driving the vehicle became very difficult because I could only see as far as we were able to project the light.
Hey, Ruby, keep an eye on this one coming in from behind us on the road.
I don't know, you're just so disoriented and you can't see and you're focused and you hit holes and you can't really do what you want to do. But by working at night, I felt like we got into their world.
There were several instances where we were right on their tail, and they had taken down an animal, and we got there before it was dead. The eyes were still moving. You could tell it was still alive and struggling. I think some of the footage that we have still reads very clearly for what it is, which is a family that's, you know, surviving on this incredible landscape.
We made several frames that were really, really cool. That's about family eating. That's what that picture's translating to. We fed the family tonight.
Days between hunts are slow. But just over the horizon, the killers are gearing up for a raid. The males that kicked Seaboy out of his last pride are looking for another one to take over. They're known for killing cubs. Rival males, and even adult females that stand in their way. There is no guarantee that Seaboy and Hildur will be able to defend the pride from their onslaught, even if the females join in the defense. With their cubs almost ready to go off on their own, the Vumbi pride is about to face the ultimate challenge to their survival.
Nat Geo Wild presents all new premieres in the underwater event of the year. Sharkfest is back. And Wild is the only place to get up close and personal with the ultimate predators of the sea, celebrating the true kings of the ocean. Don't miss Sharkfest. Starts Monday, August 21st at 6 on Nat Geo Wild. They're some of the most beautiful, most powerful, most incredible animals on the planet, and Nat Geo Wild is dedicated to protecting them.
The forest is disappearing. It's a sad story, but one that we have to tell.
Join us as we venture deep inside the wild places they call home and find out what can be done to save them. Mission Critical. New episodes every month on Nat Geo Wild.
It's the middle of the night, and the killers are on the move. The team is tracking them into Vumbi territory and bracing for a showdown. But long before any contact is made, the lions square off with their roars.
There's this incredible communication that goes on, particularly at night. We're with Vumbi, and we hear roars in the distance, and Vumbi perks up, and then they roar back. They know these sounds so well, and they absolutely communicate with each other using their roars. One of the amazing things that the researchers have found is that the lions absolutely can count, and they use their roars to decide whether or not to attack or not to attack another group of lions.
Researchers have recorded the roars and played them back to the lions to see how they react.
So they have found by playing, for example, 2 roars to a group of lions that say number 5, if they play 2 roars and there's 5 lions listening, those 5 will almost always come towards the 2, ready to attack. And yet if they play, say, 10 roars and the other group is 5, the other group will often go away.
With the killers, the numbers are a little more even. 4 of them versus Seaboy, Hildor, and 5 females. Only time will tell if the killers like those odds.
Did you look over this way, Nick?
But the night doesn't go as expected. As the killers approach, a lone female crosses their path. The killers are distracted. One heads off after the female. And the others suddenly seem less focused.
Interestingly enough, when the killers did invade, they didn't even go after Vumbi.
By morning, the killers have gone right through the Vumbi's territory and into the next. Perhaps the female threw them off their game. Or perhaps they decided a place with such scrubby ground and a lack of big herds wasn't worth fighting for.
It's not worth it. I'm not going to take on Seaboy for that.
For now, the threat to the Vumbi has passed, and life is about to get a whole lot better.
Rain, in all of my world out there, rain is something I savor.
Turn toward him a little, turn toward him a little.
For us, it makes it difficult. You're getting the water off your lens as much as you're shooting, and water's in the car, like water's coming in every opening. But rain meant sunshine in the lion's life. They're really on the edge, and the rains came, and then the prey picks up, and life is all of a sudden pretty easy.
Once the rains came and the landscape became populated with wildebeest, that's when we needed some way to show that. And so we had this new bit of technology, this small helicopter, that we were able to deploy and take our cameras just 20, 30 meters above the ground. And just by doing that, just by getting up just that little bit, we were able to show this totally new vantage point of the wide open flat expanse that is Vumbi's territory, and how the wildebeest were coming and grouping amongst the little stream beds.
For the Vumbi, it's the season of plenty. More water than they can drink. Wildebeest by the thousands. The cubs have survived their first dangerous dry seasons and are just about ready to strike out on their own. They're a far cry from where they were when the expedition began.
When we first encountered Vumbi, the cubs were obviously vulnerable. Like, they were barely hanging on. They were small, they were bony, they were mangy. Their fate was hardly decided. And when we left them, they were almost 2 years old. They were nearly as big as their mothers. They were tough, they were strong. They were completely different. And there's no doubt that these cubs had only made it as far as they had because their mothers were such incredibly competent and doting mothers.
The Vumbi have succeeded in raising their cubs, from infancy to near adulthood. A process the photographers have managed to cover from just about every angle.
And I believe in history. I really believe the whole point of doing what I do is that you record it and you lock it down and you save it, and it represents that moment in the world. And it may have some effect.
You do want people to care for, to walk away and to actually care for those animals, to feel like they're worthy of saving, worthy of keeping, because certainly their existence in the world is fragile.
This project wasn't about the Vumbi pride. It became, they stole our hearts, and they showed us these lions on the edge.